Okay, Ron.
Okay, we're live. This is the conference committee for H.141, the fiscal year 25 Budget Adjustment Act. We have the House members of the conference committee, the Senate conferees. Senator Brock is not here right now, but he will be here later. So with that, I thought since we acted last on the bill, we're waiting to hear what you guys think of the good work we did.
And you did mostly very good work, so thank you. Do I call you Mr. Chair? Is that what?
No.
I'm always used to Madam, so Mr. Chair. Okay. So we have been through this. JFO took us through, our whole committee through things, and we have some questions we'd like to ask you about, but we also find that there's a few things that seem to be really simple to close. So I think with the agreement of the House, looking at line 2, the state's attorneys, there's a technical correction. It doesn't change any money. It simply I think it moves something from operating to personal or personal to operating or something like that. And with no money change. So it was just truly technical. So I think we're willing to close on that if. Okay. And then on line 12, amending treasurer position titles. I think there was a request from the treasurer to change to economic empowerment or something like that to better describe what the roles were of those positions. So that we're amenable to that. And I think the treasurer, it may also be a treasurer, or no, maybe it's DFR, by adding "and" after underwriters' fees and bond proceeds language.
I think that line 12 was more to the title of the division than the position.
Okay.
He changed the name of that division.
Right. And I think there was one title change to the officer,
right.
office of, is the office of, and then the commissioner of, or whatever.
Director, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then on line 15, section 78, technical correction, adding the "and" after underwriters' fees. We're good with that. And then finally, on line 21, I believe Senator Lyons is the one who found punctuation changes.
Oh, I forgot.
Semicolons, and
Well
yes, we
done.
appreciate good grammar. So those are the 4 that we're perfectly happy to close right now. We, on a couple of these, we had some questions. Well, actually, quite a few of them. Let's see how long we want to chat about it. You added some positions. Do you want to talk about the positions, the AG and the Human Rights Commission?
Attorney General office came to us and requested a new position in our Solicitor General's office, specifically to work on the federal lawsuits. I've already signed on to several other states' lawsuits against the Trump administration's illegal and I'd say unconstitutional actions. And they're expecting more of that. And
Yes.
they thought they could attract a quality lawyer to this position because it's kind of a high sought. Good morning, Senator Brock. It's a high sought after position, so that they could hire quickly and get somebody on board quickly to help out with all those things. So that we agreed with them on that. So the $50,000 would be for the rest of this fiscal year. But it would be, I think the estimate was $181,000 going forward.
So for the FY26 budget, it would have to be about 181.
We are making that kind of commitment.
Right. That's the thing with making positions in the budget adjustment.
And that's there was another position that I think was in the House version.
Yes. So this is separate from that position. You're keeping that position. Okay.
But it was a similar situation. There was no money for this fiscal year, but there's money for it.
Right.
And similar with the Human Rights Commission, I don't know if you heard the testimony about their overwork. I thought it was connected to our housing crisis because not all of the cases, but a lot of their cases are housing discrimination cases. So it's about keeping people housed that deserve to be housed. Which one of the reasons we thought this was important to do in the Budget Adjustment Act.
Do you recall what that full amount is for FY 26?
I don't, I want to say it was two positions. So for some reason I wanted to say 150, but that seems like not enough for two positions because one's an attorney. So it must have been more than that.
Yeah,
I think the attorney was like 120 something, and then the intake officer and director of intake or something like that was the other position. So I'd have to ask.
so we'd have to find out.
CFO what the total is.
Okay, it's probably sounding like it must be around
Maybe it was,
200 or something, or
yeah,
I don't know if JFO knows that information at this point or not.
yeah, they might, I don't know. Does anybody at JFO know what that full year cost of those human rights commission positions were? I have that on a sheet.
We'll look it up. Okay, great. Thank you.
On your sheet.
Yeah,
Your sheet.
Okay.
I have it somewhere.
And then line 4 is just if we agree to lines 1 and 3, that gets us to line 4, the 112. So
That's just the changes.
so we'll wait on that. You did do something new that we hadn't contemplated in our budget adjustment around the grants to flood impacted municipalities. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, so this is something we had in the BA of last year.
Mhm.
The 23 floods happened to help the municipalities that had a lot of public infrastructure damage. So this is roads, bridges, culverts, kind of damage that has been under a federally recognized disaster, that we would provide grants based on a formula of the dollars per damage, for grants between $10,000 and $75,000.
Mhm.
Help those towns with their recovery. There was a good article in the news recently about how much debt these towns that had.
Yes.
So we did it in 24 with a lot of the flooding around here, but then in 23. So we had more 24 floods, some in the same town, some towns are on both lists.
Right.
But then there was a lot of new towns like in Caledonia County and around St. Johnsbury that got flooded in 24.
Yeah.
That would get some of these grants. So we thought it was, if we had the money, it was something to be fair to those towns that got flooded in 24 to be kind of given the same treatment that we gave those in 23. And then we had this little issue with the 4-5 Addison County towns that were promised money, then there wasn't enough. And so they didn't get any. So we add $150,000 so that those towns can get kind of what they
Okay.
were promised.
Right. So it was my understanding that the bill said 350 to the Addison County towns and there was only 200. So rather than giving them the 200, they gave them nothing.
The other way around, the bill said 200,000 and
They needed 350.
yeah.
And they only had to.
enough, so we're not going to give them
Give you
anything. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're trying to make up for that.
So adds takes the
Okay.
200 back, adds 150,
Okay.
and then the money for the towns.
Okay.
Like 1.2 million for the towns in the 24 floods.
Right. And this has to be used for non-FEMA related activities. Is that right? That's what we did last year, it seems to me, so that they wouldn't hurt getting any FEMA. Is that right? That?
I don't think we had, I can't remember that language being in there. It's different than the match that we're giving them, like the
Right.
match. But no, my understanding is that this is general fund, so they could use it for, what they need to use it for.
Okay.
Just, even though there's some of them are small grants, like $10,000, but
Yeah.
the fact that it's flexible money,
Okay.
one of the benefits to the
Okay.
town.
All right, we'll take a look at that. And the property transfer tax allocation to regional planning, it was wrong and then we put in something and then you did something else.
And that was based on, I thought, recommended language from the administration,
Okay, right.
or maybe just JFO
Yeah.
corrected it.
I think,
Just the
yeah,
numbers were wrong.
right. Okay, we'll review that again. I think that that's what I'm recalling also, and that
It was net.
the main thing is we didn't want anybody to lose money as a result. And in the original one, the regional planning commissions were getting less than they had the previous year. We obviously need them for all of this work, so.
My understanding is net neutral, so it's just redoing the math so that the formula is correct.
Right.
It does move money from one of the groups to the other group.
Right, but nobody's harmed on that. Okay. And I think we know what the emergency personal survivors benefit fund, expands ERAF to 2024 disasters. I wrote something about advance payment to municipalities.
Yeah, this was language that we also had last year. This would allow the state to send the state's ERAF match to the towns ahead of time. Usually it's on a reimbursement
Yeah,
basis. But since some of these flooded towns are already taking out huge amounts of debt to deal with their damages,
right.
this would allow the state to advance it to them ahead of the
Okay, great.
spending the money, so they don't have to borrow, the towns don't have to borrow more money.
Right, okay. So the where you're getting the money for various things is this $6 million. That was kind of a big change from what we did, right? So that was taking the other 6 million from the General Assembly had given appropriated $20 million FY 23 maybe for early bond redemption. And we also heard from the treasurer that they weren't intending to do any bond redemptions. It didn't make fiscal sense to do that, right? So the House intercepted the 14 million that was going back that the E-board had appropriated for flood things to use for various things. And then you saw the other 6.
Yeah, that just brought up the question of why
Right.
wouldn't we revert all of
It if they don't need it.
treasurers are going to use it for that.
Right, right. And it was originally general fund money anyway, so. Okay, co-rats. Fine, and then number 11 just is the language for the positions that you talked about up above. Hub and spoke, do you, I think we understand the hub and spoke. We'll just chat about that in our, when we can later. The JFO appropriation, it amends the appropriation. Do you remember what that?
Yeah, there's no money involved. It just allows JFO to use the money that was appropriated for a specific study for other studies that we might want them to use for this fiscal year.
Okay. Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay. And I know that there was some conversation in your committee about the language around the human case. I always say this wrong, human services caseload language.
Yeah. That line 16.
So that was,
No, that's for
that was line 16.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some concern about putting the childcare financial program ahead of the others, human
Mhm.
services.
Uh-huh.
For the case, if we were to dip into the caseload reserve, are we prioritizing childcare over other, maybe
Yeah.
more? Or are we making a decision preemptively before we know what?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the concern. So the language kind of.
So you changed it so that it would just be for FY 25, the remainder of FY 25. But I don't think it was ever our intent to have it be prioritized over, and the Medicaid and things like that. And we obviously know Medicaid is in flux.
I think we're happy to look at the language, but that was the concern, that the language might prioritize it over other things.
Right.
And then, then there's other language in there about not needing to do that, not needing to use the human services caseload reserve in the future if the same situation happens.
Yeah.
That they could use it to create a CCFAP reserve instead.
A special fund, right. Well, and this one was interesting because it was suggested by, when we originally talked about a special fund, I spoke with the administration and they recommended using the human services reserve. So just have to figure out, because it was certainly not our intent to prioritize one over the other. That's, I think we all recognize that we don't know what the needs are going to be, right? So I think we'll just have to think about how to ensure that everybody gets what they need and that people don't unintentionally lose out. Yeah. Okay. And then alternative funding sources, DOC report language, that's yours, Trevor, right? That we'll talk about that. The adding, that was to the strategic plan, adding a sentence to.
Yeah, it's like half a sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, half a sentence. All right, we'll look at that. And I know you added clarification language to the stabilization grant. Okay.
Yeah, kind of a report back.
Right. I'm not sure I remember this flood abatement hold harmless.
This is what we did in a separate bill last year. It wasn't in the BA last year, but again,
Okay.
it's like what the towns got for the 23 floods, they get for the 24 floods. If they abate property because of those specific flooding events, the FEMA recognized events, then they would be held harmless for that abatement to the education fund. Normally, if a town abates property,
Oh.
they have to pay the education
Right.
loss revenue.
Okay, and so we think that's about $1 million. So it's for one more year.
Yeah,
Okay,
and only those towns, not any town.
okay. And I guess we want to just check in with our Ways and Means.
Yeah, and we can.
Finance Committee already talked about that.
And I can't remember where the estimate came from, but yeah, we can.
Okay.
That's still accurate, because money about the abatements changes.
Right.
As they happen.
Okay, okay. Well, do you have other questions? Yes.
We skipped this number 10. That may have been just because.
Oh,
figured that
I
was-
completely, I did skip it. I didn't mean to skip it.
Sorry.
Thank you. That section D about the unreserved, unallocated reserve language, which was the one that said basically anything that was extra would be used for permanent housing, education, tax reform, and other
Anything.
uses in the public good, right?
So the language just caught people's attention, it just seems so broad of anything.
Yeah.
I'm good. So instead of trying to wordsmith it to something that we would support, we thought it wasn't needed in the BAA, because we will have time in the big bill
Yeah.
to address that, and we'll have a little more information.
Yeah,
So then we could address it with direct appropriations or transfers.
Yeah.
Instead of just a broad.
okay,
thing
Right.
like that. So that's why we did that.
yeah. And I think we have some feeling on the House side that we could maybe put in some language that clarified, that wasn't quite so broad, and take care of it in the budget adjustment. So we'll think about that and see if there's something we can propose to have you take a look at. And see if that would be sufficient, or if we in fact need to wait to we don't want to lose it.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, no, we
That's the,
understood the goal behind it. We just
Yeah.
didn't like the way it was worded.
right. So maybe we can change the wording of it. Okay. I think that covers
Mhm.
everything. So we have one thing that we want to offer to you maybe we can take it up at 3:30 when we meet again.
So, yeah.
This is the problem with a long table, right? It's getting this
Yep.
over there.
Need airmail.
Yes, we do. Snail mail won't work. So we were asked by DCF, you may recall in this section, SNAP program, when people, sometimes been a gap when people try to apply and then they go without benefits for 30 days while they're reapplying and doing all kinds of stuff. Well, the federal government has offered 29,000 vouchers, for lack of a better word, for us to use, costs us nothing to fill in those gaps. And DCF has not made use of them. There's 29,000 vouchers that will expire on September 30th. So it's a use it or lose it. And it seemed appropriate to offer it to people so that they are not going without while they're finishing up whatever paperwork they need to finish up. So that was in the budget. We all agreed to it, but then DCF came back to us and said, we're interpreting this that it has to be retroactive back to July 1st, which is kind of impossible to do because if they didn't get their benefits in August, we can't make up for that now. So we have we were proposing this language that just says for the remainder of fiscal year 2025, DCF shall utilize the state's allocation. And then, extend the benefits to participants who would otherwise experience a disruption and ensure that program participants are not accruing any time-limited benefit work requirement. So this was language that I think DCF.
Is this a strike all? Because I think I saw language that had like changes, or maybe it was a strike all and the thing I saw was just highlighting what the changes were.
Yeah, you saw that one with it. So I don't know, Emily, is this or Grady?
Yes, this doesn't reflect the small changes, so it's just, those aren't highlighted in red instead of green. It would see the accruing part there.
So are we doing is the proposal a strike all or just to change those
The
languages?
committee conference proposal would be a strike all itself.
Of that section.
Section 85.
Yeah, just-
Of the Senate proposal.
Right.
itself. So this would show up as a separate instance. So, the changes are in sub A, for the remainder, and then striking what was previously in. And then striking the word fully after, Department for Children and Families shall utilize.
Mm,
And then adding sub 1 and sub 2, in sub 1, extending benefits, and then adding in program participants, replacing the word individuals. And then sub 2, the fully new language addition.
so we can,
This is this language as it is.
this is the new language we're recommending.
Okay, that just seemed like it's
The
different.
word, yeah, it is. It's the word fully has been taken out. And then they added sub one. and sub
We can give you, I think Emily sent a copy of the marked up version.
Yeah, I
If you
saw
want,
that.
if you want to take,
We'll look at that. We'll consider that.
yeah,
And I'd be surprised that
it seems like a reasonable thing, because
We'll take-
it can only be going forward. It can't be retroactive.
The one thing that, and this would, this money expires, these vouchers or units, whatever they're called, are expire
Yes.
at the end of September.
That's right.
So the end date, utilization date, I
That's the
don't
wrong
think should,
utilization.
yeah, I think should end at September 30th.
Right. I think actually that's a very good point. Thank you for that catch.
Yeah.
Did you get that, Grady?
instead of
It does, because they expire September 30th, not at the end of our
The
fiscal year. It's
federal
Federal
year.
year. So this will get further changed to say,
for the remainder of the federal fiscal year or until September.
right, through September 30th, whatever. Grady will figure out the right language.
Just put in here
Good catch.
C grading.
Yeah, see Grady.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch.
Anything else you have?
I think that's all we have to give you at this point, and we'll, now that we have a better understanding of your thinking about some of these things, we'll our own huddle and see what we can do for this afternoon and try to get a bunch more close out.
And we have received a new letter from the administration. Is there a need or desire to talk about that? Or I guess that would be something we consider as we have our negotiation.
Right, I think so. We should acknowledge, yep, that we received it. We all have a copy of it and we should all read it and keep it in mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So we'll see.